I want to show you my most valuable guitar pedals. I'm going to take each one, I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to tell you a story about it. Give you some inside information. I hope that you see a pedal you've never seen. I hope that you learn something you've never learned, because I think that was the whole point of the vlog, is to learn. Maybe you're learning, but that aside, let's move on and let's get with it. Okay, I'm here at my desk and I'm going to open a package for you. This one is from my friend Scotty. He doesn't have a last name apparently. Kind of like Prince. You know, you just, hey Prince, hey Scotty, hey Cher. So this is Scotty. He does have a last name, it's Scotty Smith, and his company is ProAnalog Devices. You've probably recognized, I'm a fan of his pedals. I think he's a really smart pedal designer and I like his company. So let's put it under the knife. All right. Josh Scott, ProAnalog Devices, Manticore Gold, number 0228. And it's the logo there. Happy birthday, you little bastard. See, that's quality customer service. And it brings a tear to my eye. You know, Scotty, you're so sweet. You're just like a big teddy bear, you know? So I accept that. Happy birthday, you little bastard. Okay, let's open it up. Swanky pink handkerchief. I'm gonna wear that later. Here it is. That's a sweet gold color. Gold's a hard powder coat color. In my opinion, I have a few gold pedals. The Manticore. So level, treble, gain, and drive. And the story with this pedal, I've had some discussions with Scotty about it. He looks at the Klon and he sees things that he thinks can be done better. And I'm not saying like mod it a little, like this is a very revamped circuit. Internally, he deals with things like even the voltage, a lot of things that a simple modification or maybe a simple pedal modder might not catch. And I would go to say this is not a clone in any way. It's probably fairly unique at this point. And I'm a fan of his stuff, so I'll fire it up and play a riff. Let's jump into this, but before we do, let me define what I mean by most valuable pedals. I'm not speaking in a expense or monetary way. These pedals mean something to me. They're like the MVP, the most valuable players of my pedal life, you could say. I tend to be a collector. I tend to love the stories behind a thing more than the actual thing. And in that, you could call me sort of a hoarder. I have the tendencies, but I'm working on it. I'm working through it. All that said, these pedals mean a lot to me. They have milestones through my career with JHS or as a player. And I'm going to jump into it now that you understand that. And they're in no particular order because how could I do that? I can't hurt their feelings. Let's go for it. The first one I want to show you is this guy. This is the second Morning Glory I ever made. It actually has a number 2 stamped on it because I'm super nostalgic, like I said. And you can see there was no icon. I was playing with some stuff. I just figured out the letters at this point in JHS history. I was figuring out how to stamp. And this is really special to me because, quite honestly, the JHS vlog wouldn't exist without this pedal. JHS wouldn't exist without it. The Morning Glory has been a huge part of the success of me tinkering with pedals and people liking them, and I've seen this on so many boards. Guitar heroes of mine love this pedal, and the evolution of it up to the V4 now has been such a fun experience. So this definitely gets into the crowd here of my most valuable pedals. Next up is a Danelectro Dan Echo. If you've watched some of the past vlogs, you probably heard my story about how an ex-girlfriend gave me this and I broke up with her and she ripped Pearl Jam tickets, whatever. It's in the delay episode. The reason this is in here is because I remember this was the first pedal that I got that was time-based, a delay, and I fell in love with delay. I instantly recognized that the sound that I had been hearing on records was formed by the repeats of echo. And for me, that was huge as a player, and without a doubt, it was a huge spark that turned into the flame of creating circuits. It made me see guitar in a very 3 or 4 dimensional thing. It was no longer, here's a riff, here's this thing. I started to see the texture of effects in guitars and famous recordings. I started to look for them and listen, and I started to see stuff I'd never seen, and it's all because of this pedal, the Danelectro Dan Echo. All right, this guy. There's a story with this guy. It wasn't always modded, obviously. Picture it without the sticker and without the toggle, without some mods that you can see here. This is an original old school RAT. I worked in a small music shop in a town called Winfield, Alabama. Real small shop, and a guy walked in and wanted to trade it in, and I'm standing there with the owner, and he didn't really want it, and I said, I'll give you 15 bucks. I've heard about that pedal. I didn't have a lot of pedals at this time. I didn't really used a ton of pedals. I was so new to it all as a player, but I bought this and it rocked my world. I found fuzzy goodness that I'd never heard. This was my gateway drug to fuzz. And not only that, it was a gateway into so many different types of distortion, because the RAT was so different than the Tube Screamer I had, and it was so different than other normal overdrives I had owned. So this guy, $15 well spent. You can see I modded it. It's basically the prototype of the All-American. It's an old discontinued JHS pedal, but I love this guy. He's a good guy. He's a dirty rat, but he's a good guy. This is a 1973 Batman font tone bender. They say that because of the onomatopoeia style fuzz. This thing made me fall in love with fuzz. That RAT was a gateway to fuzz, but this was straight up the drug. This thing captured my attention. It really, really, really showed me that fuzz wasn't some squawky, unusable effect. So many things I do are because of playing through this, and this led me into other classic fuzzes. It's all germanium. I actually put a clear back on it so I could see in it the simple circuit. 73 tone bender, big, big deal to me. The Colour Box. You have probably heard of it. If you haven't, I would love for you to go check out clips of this. I'll play a little riff on it. This guy is so, so important to me because this came at a point in the pedal making career that almost felt make or break for me. It felt like, how do you do something new? How do you do something original? That was how it feels, and it still feels like that sometimes with pedals, because pedals are so subjective and we use a lot of the same parts. You know, it's hard to reinvent the wheel. And this idea, it was a harebrained idea to recreate the sound of some of my favorite music, like bands like Spoon and Wilco and the Beatles, and specifically how they plug directly into the channel strips on a mixing console, and pulled it off. And it's been wildly successful for us. There's people that use it on every instrument imaginable. Like, for instance, a guy like Beck, live, this will be on bass keys, his guitar. There's people that use it on front of house vocals, like The War on Drugs. There's people that have used it on kicks, stems, mix downs, like Phanogram Spotify sessions were put through this. Like, Just crazy, crazy things have happened with this pedal. I think that a lot of the growth over the last few years for JHS has definitely been because of the originality and kind of the passion that came from this pedal. It was something very, very unique, and I still think it stands super unique in the market. This, my friends, is a 1996 Lovetone cheese source. I'm gonna have to do an episode on Lovetone because I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. I have a ton of these. I think I almost have all the units. These are British, and everything about them I love. I love them so much that I can't describe my love for this brand. This thing is a combination of one of their fuzzes and one of their drives, and I'll explain all that some other time, but just know, this pedal basically changed my life. I know that sounds dramatic. I know it's almost like, yeah, right. But no, this made me see something. It made me see that guitar pedals can be weird. Weird in a very comfortable way. Like, not everything had to be accessible. Not everything that I do has to be for everyone. That was like a huge lesson, that I can make a pedal because I want to make it, and it doesn't have to make everybody happy. Like, I don't have to please all of you. I just get to please some of you with a certain product. Like, that's a massive thing, because when I started out, you know, I want everybody to love everything I do, and it's unrealistic. But I saw in this how special these are to some people, and how some people never heard of them or they hate them. But I just think that that changed me. That changed how I even went into looking at doing a new circuit or a new pedal, or how I thought about it, or why does the world need another pedal? Well, the world needs more pedals because these are awesome, and there's other things out there that people want, and there's stuff that people can't find, and I might have a chance to make that. This is another episode screaming at me to happen because I really, really want to do it. I have been a fan of the Klon Centaur for years and years, and I actually have every version of it. When I say every version, there's more than you think. There's like a ton of cosmetic differences, but I'm going to focus solely on this one. This is serial number 002. Bill, the inventor of the Klon, he has 001. So that makes this unit in my hand the first ever retail sold unit, or sold from him, I'm not sure. But this is the first unit ever sold. This is basically it. This is where it started. I'm holding it in my hand. I mean, it even looks like it's brush painted or something. I mean, everything about this is so cool. The Klon is loved and hated and misunderstood and hyped and all this stuff, but it's cool to have unit number 2. Because the story of the Klon is just amazing. It's a pedal that has become iconic, like far beyond iconic. And I love that I ended up with this 002, the first sold Klon unit. So in a lot of ways, it's the #1 Klon. And I think that's pretty stinking cool. Other than it being super stinking cool, I love it. Not least is this. I have it in a bag. I have it in this box. It is the Boss JB2. The reason this one is in a bag here is it's a very special JB2. So that process with Boss was like almost fantasy realm to do a collaborative product with Boss. Really crazy for me. Really amazing honor to go over to Japan, to walk through the processes of prototyping and helping design, and seeing my initials on a Boss pedal. It's insane. It's crazy to me. I'm so honored beyond belief that I can't describe that through a vlog or a podcast, and I never will be able to describe what it feels like to have had this happen and to have it be so successful with Boss. Yoshi, the president of Boss, has number 1. He signed this one and I signed it, and I signed his the same way and he signed his. So he has unit 1 and I have unit 2. And when we released and debuted this product at the London event, he gave me this after a clinic that he and I did, and I will forever keep it in that plastic bag, tucked away somewhere, hidden in the vaults of JHS, because this is super cool. This is one of those things I get to show my kids and be like, guys, I don't know how the crap this happened, but it happened. And even if you don't like guitar or whatever, just please understand this is amazeballs. That's what I'll say. This is amazeballs. Today's record time is brought to you by a record that is incredibly valuable to me. Just like with the pedals, the value doesn't really have anything to do with money. It has to do with the fact that it has a ton of memories and a ton of meaning to me personally. This record is one that when I was a kid, I'd jump in my dad's 77 F100 Ford truck, and this was always in the cassette player. Without further ado, it is Marty Robbins' Gunfighter Ballads. It's not a rock and roll record. I'd venture to say it's incredibly non-rock and roll, but in the fact that it isn't rock and roll, so much not rock and roll, maybe it is rock and roll. Anyway, this is it, Gunfighter Ballads. You can get it in a few versions. This is the repressing, and there's an actual original press that looks like this. Then there's a version that has like some of his other non-cowboy songs. And then if you couldn't get enough of version 1 Gunfighter Ballads, well, he made more Gunfighter Ballads. Come on, people, you need them all. But the reason I love this is because it means a ton to me. And honestly, it's incredible. The songs are great. His vocals are killer. The guitar stuff is super fun. The vibes of the songs are so good, and it is original Americana. Like when I think about hipsters doing Americana and stuff, like they can't touch this. The history of this, the era of American music that it represents, the story of Marty Robbins, look that up, it's super cool. Like this is a really cool piece of history. And so what I want you to do is check it out. And I also want to know what record means a lot to you. What's a valuable record, a valuable album in your catalog of music? Something that you'd like for me to hear. Type that in the comments and then tell me the story. Tell me why it's valuable. Tell me why it's so special to you. And I'm excited to see those, and I'm excited for you to check this out. And tell me how rock and roll it is. That's a wrap for this episode. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure. And kind of in closing, I just want to share like kind of something cool here. You know, I got to thinking about this Dan Echo. You can go on Craigslist and find this for like $10. Like people are throwing these away. You know, they don't mean a lot to people. But to me, this means a ton. And I love that money and expense and hype and popularity of an item doesn't always equate to important to us as players. You know, I did a video you've probably seen by now where I built a $400,000 guitar rig, and I had like these Dumble amps. One of them was $90,000 and I didn't like it, but I love this. So this cheap, crappy pedal means more to me and is more usable to me than a Dumble. And that's really cool. And I think, you know, for you guys, I just encourage you to focus in and think about some of those pieces of gear, as simple as it may be, that inspired you to be the player you are, or that continue to inspire you. Like think back on those, like step out of the moment of what you think you want or what you'd like to try, and think about the things you already have, the things that might be tucked away in a closet or under the bed or in a Rubbermaid tub out in the garage. What piece of gear has done something magical for you, like in your past? You heard my little stories here, what these things mean to me, my most valuable pedals. Well, you tell me your most valuable pedals or amps or guitars, and I want to hear those stories. And if you like this episode, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and then you can hit the bell and you get notifications every time we post a new episode. That's usually always on Thursdays. And as always, check out the hot tracks. Nick does an amazing job on those. I'm very partial, but I think they're incredible. We'll post some links to those. So until next time, goodbye. Have a wonderful day.